And so these warm-ups are like some things that are on the quiz, which is next week. Are we ready? Okay, so here's my 2 warm-ups. If I were you and had any scratch paper, I would probably write these down, because they are just like things on the quiz. Yes. Yeah. All right. So the first one here is a completing the square question, and we did these yesterday. Does anybody remember how we started this out? Yes. Okay. So the x is over here by itself. The y's are over here. It on our sheet, I feel like, doesn't it look like that the y's are, the squared quantity is always on the left, just so that it matches up. So I think I'll rewrite this. So all I did is flip-flop things, okay? And then what am I going to have to do with these y things? Yeah, I think I would move that over there. Good call. I get a factor out of 3. Okay. So I have 3 quantity y squared plus 42 divided by 3, 14 maybe? Completing the square is on, I think, every section of this quiz. So you got to get good, okay? What do we do here to complete the square? Half of 14 is 7. Squared would be 49. But we don't put a 49 over here. 3 times 49, whatever that is. Okay, so if that's a 147 and a minus 141, we have plus 6. How am I doing? Okay, Tara, this is for you. Yes, she's here. Sorry, my brain is... Okay, something's wrong, though. Why doesn't this look like the format we want? Okay, but there is a number over here where we don't want it. We have to divide that over there. So we're going to have y plus 7 quantity squared equals x plus 6. But what are we doing to move that over there? It's going to become a what? Yeah, we're going to divide. Right now this had a 1 out there, and we're dividing both sides by 3, so there's going to be a 1/3. Okay, I'd like to keep going just a little further because I'm concerned about this. We have not done a lot of practice where p is a tiny decimal or fraction. If this is y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h, the vertex is at hk, which would be -6, -7, okay? But the p value here, we have 4p equals 1/3. How do we solve that? Okay, if you put in your calculator and did a math enter, you could divide by 4, or you could take 1/4. Because 1/4 of 4p would just be p, and over here a 1/4 of a third would be 1/12. And it'll work on your calculator. So you want to find focus? Let's just find the focus. I guess we could do focus and directrix, but this is h and this is k. It was a y squared, so it's opening sideways. So the focus is h plus p comma k, which would be -6 plus 1/12. Can anybody do that with a math enter? -71/12. Yeah, And then, can I just stop? Are we good? You get the idea that you can have some pretty funky things. Okay, let's just do this one real quick then. If this is a focus, that's an H, or a vertex, sorry, that's an H and a K. If this is the focus, this is an H. Now, on which kind does H stay the same for the vertex and focus? Could also sketch it. If this is 5, -6 is the vertex, and the focus is 5, what is this as a decimal? Can anybody tell me? It's -6.25, isn't it? Yeah. So it would be right down here. So it opens down, okay? If you look on the sheet, also that's the kind that where the H stays the same for the vertex and the focus. Does everybody see that? The H stays the same. And the recipe for focus is that this is K plus P. So what do we already know K is? So type -25/4 plus 6. So P is -1/4. Did that make sense to anybody? Anybody know that ahead of time? Wasn't the distance in here a fourth? And it was opening down, so it was negative? Okay, so can you write the equation? Opening down means we start with x minus h squared equals, now we're supposed to put in a 4p. So 4 times -1/4 would be -1. Y minus k would be y plus 6. Okay. Those were on the homework, but I'm getting worried that a lot of you are just kind of spacing out here. All right. I will hopefully have time for homework questions at the end about parabolas, but we're going to move on and talk about ellipses right now, okay? So eventually you have to be able to graph an ellipse and find all the stuff it asks for. And you have to be able to complete the square, and you have to be able to write an equation of ellipse, and you have to be able to, actually I don't think this is on there, but you have to be able to find the eccentricity. There's a word. All right. So we're going to do an experiment. All right, guys. So if I have one single focal point here, and I have a string attached, and I do this. All right, my string is a little, here's, all right. What shape are we going to get? If those were exactly the same place, we get a circle, right? Okay, so when you have one focus or 0 distance between the foci, you have a circle. As soon as you start moving apart, now it's going to be hard to tell. Don't get a circle. Can you tell what we get? Yeah, we get an oval, but it's not very oval yet. But if we move these way apart, yes. So this last one that was here was much more oval, right? The further apart the foci were. So these are going to be the foci. And the fancy definition here is going to be the sum of the distance. So if you look at this picture, if you add the length of string stayed the same all the way around, right? So the distance from a point here. So what stays the same is the total distance from focus to point on the ellipse back to focus. So if I pick a point here, the string is still the same distance. That's it. All right. Now, when we get to actually switching these, there's going to be a major axis, which is the longer one, and a minor axis, which is the shorter one. Okay. There's going to be a center, just like with a circle, but you're not going to go the same distance out all 4 directions. You're going to go out further on the major axis, and those ends are going to be called the vertices. And then on the minor axis, you're going to have the co-vertices. All right, so this is listed on your reference sheet. Can everybody find it? Now, there's a very, very important difference between an ellipse and a hyperbola that's on the back. And that is the definition of how you find the difference between A and B. And I wrote it for you on your sheet so that you would remember, except some of you aren't very good with this symbol. What is this symbol? Greater than. So the A is always the bigger number. Okay? So when A is a bigger number under the X, it's longer in the X direction. When A, the bigger number, is underneath the Y, it's going to be longer in the Y direction. Does this kind of make sense? Okay. The definition of A with a hyperbola is different. It's not always the bigger number. We'll talk about that when we get there. All right. So let's just start with an example. You have all this in your notes. Okay. Can anybody pick out where they think the center is on this example? I think this one is done for you, maybe? Okay, so just help me think through this. You don't have to write anything down. Where does it look like the center was B? Negative. Yes, because it's HK, and you have to pick the H from within the X here and the K with the Y. So the center is going to be at -2, 1, and that's the H and the K. All right, then if I plot that point, -2, 1, underneath the Y is a 25, okay? That's actually going to be squared. That's A squared, so how far am I going to go in each direction? I'm not going to go 25, I'm going to go 5, okay? So it fits on graph paper. So square root this and I go 5 in the Y direction because that was underneath the 5. Making sense? So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, in the X direction, I'm going to go square root of that, which would be 3 each way. Okay, then I draw my oval. Now, the vertices are the ones at the ends of the longer axis. So if this was left 2 and up 1, this is still left 2, and this is still left 2. Everybody with me? But instead of going up 1, I went up 1 plus 5 and 1 minus 5. And the co-vertices were in the X direction. So the 1 stayed the same, but instead of the -2, I went left or right how much? 3. So -2, left 3 more would be -5, -2, right 3 would be +1. You just found almost everything you need. The weirdness is the foci, okay? And the foci are truly weird because you have to find a C value. The foci are on the major axis, so they're going to be up and down. So they're going to be at -2, and then we're going to take 1, and we're going to add some weird value on here. Up and down, add and subtract. That weird value is C, and the equation to find C is on your sheet. Do you see it at the bottom there? It says c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Okay. Does that seem weird that it's minus? Like Pythagorean theorem with a minus in the middle, right? Okay, flip this over real fast. Look at what it is for an ellipse. You see, for an ellipse, it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So that's just weird. I always remember it's the opposite of this sign. Okay, an ellipse has a plus here, so it has a minus here. But you get to use your sheet, so it's fine. All right, so what are a squared and b squared? Yeah, and a was the bigger one. So what's 25 minus 9? So we square root and we get c is 4. And that means you're going to go up 4 and put a foci, and you're going to go down 4 and put a foci. So it was 1 plus or minus 4, so they wound up at negative 2, 5, and down here at negative 2, negative 3. All right, so that was a nice, easy one. Walked you through it. Let's try. Uh-oh, were we supposed to write that down here? What did we figure out? C was 4, so it wound up at negative 2, comma 1 plus or minus 4, which was negative 2, 5, and negative 2, negative 3. Everybody good? All right, here we go. Easy one, because what's happening? Yeah, h and k are 0. So it's at the origin. How far do I go? Okay, this is a squared. So a is 4. B squared is 9. So b is 3. But how do I know whether I go 4 up, down, left, right? This number's under the y, so that tells me I go what?
Up and down.
Up and down 4. Why did they count by 2's and then make it tiny? B is 3 each way in the x direction. Okay, there's my tiny little oval. If they use such small numbers, I don't know why they counted by 2's. But anyway. Okay, it says I have to list vertices, co-vertices, and foci. Which one am I using on my sheet? The one on the left or the one on the right? The recipe's on the left or on the right?
On the right.
Yes, I am using the ones on the right because the bigger number was under the y. So it says, for vertices, it says h, comma k plus or minus a. So 0, comma 0 plus or minus what? A, which is 4, yes. So since there's nothing to add it on to, we'd have 0, 4, and 0, negative 4. Did I draw mine wrong? All right. And the co-vertices, according to the sheet, are at h plus or minus b, comma k. Well, h and k are just 0. So how far did I go left and right? Yes. All right. And then it says the foci are at h, comma k plus or minus c. Why are they up and down? Okay, the foci are always on what's called, anybody remember? Major axis. The longer one is the major axis. Yep, you had the right idea. All right, so how do we find C? Yes. And actually, these were a squared and b squared already. So, yep, you can use 4 squared and 3 squared. It's the same thing. But what does that come out to be?
7.
Okay, so c would be the square root of 7. Subtract and then square root. So since h and k are 0, we just have 0 plus or minus the square root of 7, which is like, I don't know, 2 point something. So it'd be in here somewhere for the foci. Not too worried about where that is accurately. Probably because it's very hard for those to come out nice. So you need to state it as an exact value, but when you go to graph it, you might want to find a decimal. All right, so let's try this one. Kelsey, tell me the center. Sorry. Good job. Keaton, tell me A. And B, anybody? Okay, let's find C while we're at it. C is the square root of a squared minus b squared, it said. So that would be the square root of 64 minus 25, 39. Okay, that's a lovely number. All right. I want to just graph conceptually for a minute. If we go to -5, -2, they're counting by twos again. And then we go 8 in which direction, guys? Yeah, this was under the X. We have to go left and right. 2, 4, 6, 8. Remember, they're counting by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8. And then up and down, we're going under the Y is this 5. 2, 4, 5. 2, 4, 5. Okay. So let's use the recipes and then we'll go back to our drawing and see if it makes sense. What is the recipe for vertices when the bigger number was under the X? H plus or minus A comma K. Is everybody finding that? So what are those numbers? This is H and K. So we'd have -5 plus or minus 8 comma -2. And I don't want you to leave it like that. Tell me what those numbers are. What's -5 plus 8? And -5 minus 8. Does that make sense that this was -13, -2, and this was +3, -2? That seems okay. The co-vertices, what's the formula for that? Okay, so H was -5, K was -2, plus or minus B, which was 5. So those co-vertices would become -2 plus 5 would be 3. And -2 minus 5 would be -7. So left 5 up 3, left 5 down 7. Seems right? All right, the other thing you have to state are, you don't have to do, like it says on the sheet, major, minor axis. You just have to tell me the foci. Okay, the recipe is H plus or minus C comma K. What's H?
5.
-5 plus or minus the square root of 39, comma, K, which is -2. Okay. I will let you leave them because it's a square root, but let's use some decimals to graph them. You don't have to write it any better than that. But what's -5 plus the square root of 39? 1.2. So if we go over 1.2 and down 2, oh, we're counting by twos. I don't know where 1.2 is, somewhere in there. And then if you did -5 minus the square root of 39, you get -11, which would be over here somewhere, -11.2. So it was roughly positive 1.2 and -2 and -11.2 and -2. But this is how I would want it on the quiz, okay? Exact values. All right. No, it's fine. As long as it's got a square root, you don't have to simplify it. If it's numbers, then I want you to tell me where they are. If it's straight up. Okay. We don't need to do 2 of these, I don't feel like. We think? You want to do 3 or 4? Want to do 4? Okay. Let's do 4, but I want you to do it on your own. Anybody get the vertex backwards? That's usually where I start messing up when they're in this order. The vertex is 2, -3, right?
I thought that was the center.
Oh, that is the center. Thank you. You are totally right. And the bigger numbers under Y. Is it square root of 39 again? Did anybody get that far? Okay. So the vertices are at 2, -3 plus or minus 8, which would be 2, 5, and 2, -11. Did anybody have that?
Yeah.
6, 8, 10, 11, 2, 4, 5. Okay. The co-vertices (7, -3, and -3, -3. Anybody? And so the foci are at 2, -3 plus or minus the square root of 39. And I'm good enough with that. Did you get there? Were you getting there? If you did -3 plus the square root of 39, you get 3.2. So this one is at +2 up 3.2. So the other one would be about that same distance inside here. All right. Feeling like ellipses are pretty easy, yes? All right. The next thing we have to learn to do is complete the square, which we're already good at, I hope. Guys, if you are not practicing completing the square with me, that's not good. So we're going to isolate the x's together. So there's a 4x squared and a 24x. Then there's a 9y squared and a minus 36y. This one's done for you, I think, so you can just watch. I'm going to move this constant over to the other side, so it's going to become a negative 36. What do I have to factor out of the x's?
4.
So I'll have x squared plus 6x plus blank. Out of the y's,
9.
so I'll have y squared minus 4y plus blank. And over here I'll have a negative 36 plus a couple blanks. Okay, the 4 stays out front. Half of this is x plus 3. We squared and we get 9, but that means I added 9 4 times over here, which is 36. Over here, the 9 stays out in front. Half of this is minus 2. Squared is 4. So again, I added 9 times 4 are 36 over there. These cancel each other out, and I end up with 36. At the end of these, what is the thing that's true about both of these two equations on here? The right-hand side says equals?
0.
No. Equals 1. It has to equal 1. So you have to divide this by 36, this by 36, and this by 36. So we get equals 1. 9 over 36. 9 goes into 36 4 times. And 4 goes into 36 9 times. Okay? So we're going to try it. Here we go. Isolate the x's and the y's. So I have a 6x squared minus a 24x plus a blank. And I have a y squared plus 2y plus a blank. And the constant is already nicely on the other side for us. What do we do next? So it'll say, who thinks they've got this? Nobody yet? That they understand this concept? All right, Kayvon, what's going on here? This becomes, okay, x minus 2 quantity squared. The 6 stays out in front because I took half of that. Then I square it and put a, okay, but to fill in this, yes, on this parenthesis down here has to be equal to this parenthesis up here. So x minus 2 times x minus 2 is x squared minus 4x plus 4. Then I worry about 6 times 4 means I added 24 to that side. Okay, back here, half of that, it'd be plus 1. Squared is 1. There was nothing out front, so I did just add 1 over there. 24 and 1 and 5 is 30. Now what? Yes, divide this piece by 30, this piece by 30, and this piece by 30. So I would have, stop that. X minus 2 quantity squared, 6 goes into 35 times. Y plus 1 quantity squared, nothing to reduce, so it stays 30, and this side is 1. I'm really glad I don't have to graph that, because those aren't nice numbers, right? They're not, I wouldn't be going out nice, perfect squares. But this is the form of an ellipse. Guys, you're eventually going to have ones that have a minus in here, and that will make it a hyperbola. As long as you have quantity squared plus quantity squared equals 1, it is an ellipse. All right, I want to talk about, oh, we don't talk about anything else today? Oh, okay. Easy peasy. Yeah, we got some homework questions. Let's do one more completing the square. Is there 2 left? 6 or 7? You have 3 left? You have 5, 6, 7. You have a number 8? I'm thinking I must have left 8 for tomorrow for a warm-up. Okay. So, but I don't think we need to do 2 of these, do we? Do you want to do 6 or 7? Okay. Oh, no, we might need to do both. I'm going to go real fast, but this has a y squared and a 2y, and it has an x squared and a 24x and a 14 over here. So complete the square for me. We don't want to take a y out. We're completing the square. How do we do that? Y plus 1 squared is 1 plus x minus 12 squared is plus 14, 15, 159. Okay. You can divide everything by 159, but does anybody see anything else going on? What is an ellipse going to be if it has a 159 here and a 159 here? Yeah, it's going the same amount in all directions. Wasn't this an equation of a circle? Y plus 1 quantity squared plus x minus 12 quantity squared equals 159? That's a circle because there's no stretch in either direction. Do you see that, guys? So where's the center of that circle? Yeah, be careful. You do y and then x. It's 12, negative 1. And the radius is whatever the square root of 159. All right, that's why I want to do 7, because look at this. What do you notice? Yeah, there's no x squared. This is not an ellipse or a circle. All right, so we have, how do you want to isolate it this time? What's the only thing we have to complete the square on? The y's. So I'm going to write y squared plus 4y plus blank, and I move everything else to the other side, which will become what? Negative 4x and a plus 8. Good call. Okay, now finish completing the square. We have what? Okay. How do we make that look like a, what is that? Only one of them is squared, not both, so it is a parabola. And then we usually have what over here? We have to factor out the 4p. So what's, because you want this to say x minus h. So this would be a minus 3. So just clarify for me, is p 4? 4, p is negative 4, so p is negative 1, and then etc. All right, homework questions. Your homework tonight, by the way, on ellipses are these. Okay. Page 438. Are all of those assigned? 2, 4. I don't know. Remember if I fixed this. Oh, no, you don't have to do 25. That's last year's assignment. 29, 30. Yeah, the rest you have to do. I just cut one off. Merry Christmas. All right, homework questions, though? This one? All right, guys. This number 13 in the book says this is the equation. We're supposed to write it in standard form and figure out how long is the length of rope attaching the swimmer to the stern, which is find P, I think. Because it's the focus. It says he's at the focus and here's the vertex. So this value would be P. Does that make sense? Vertex, focus, it says. All right. So all of that mess basically comes down to we need to make this in standard form and find P. Okay, great. We were just doing this. We have a y squared and a 10y. Move everything else to the other side and we'll have what glorious numbers over there? 180x minus 565. Okay, complete the square for me. What does this become?
Y.
So we have 180x minus 545, 40. Okay, then what? We want this side to be x minus h, so we need to take out the 180. 540 divided by 180 is 3. Okay, so this is part A, the equation in standard form. How long is the length of rope? So what is P? It's not 180. 4P equals 180, so P is 45 feet. I'm guessing it's feet. We're going with it. Oh, it does say in feet. And that's the answer to B. What else? That was it? No one else had a homework question? All right.